So what would you suggest for someone who hasn't been interested in nature? What would be the onboarding, the gateway behavior to get them to start getting connected with nature?
Yeah, I love this question because I'm just testing now how to get like kind of scale up with this idea to match connection with nature with tiny habits. And I found out I've started validating. I found out that actually um, there's also people. There's many people. It's not really an issue for people. People don't wake up thinking like, "Oh, my nature connectedness is not so good." You know, I need to do
Hmm.
something about it.
Yeah.
um, People with no nature connectedness, they're not interested. They don't care.
Hmm.
People with that have some nature connectedness, they think, well, my nature connectedness is fine. You know, I mean, what are you talking about? And the phrase nature connectedness, it's not like ordinary language. It's like it's a psychological term.
Hmm.
So I think you should look at the benefits then. You know, the
Hmm.
benefits that you get, and maybe even to make it bigger, you could look at the problems you will face in the future if you don't do something about it.
Hmm.
And that's that nature deficit disorder. You know, with constantly being glued to screens and technology and spending your days in cities, has all these negative effects that you're not aware of because they all go gradually. So I
Hmm.
think that might be the best way to interest people. Of course, you can interest people with the awe and wonder and etc.
Hmm.
But my idea is that you will not, that mostly appeals to the people that like nature already.
Hmm.
And
But see, I didn't like nature. I mean, it's not like I didn't not like nature. I wasn't, but I wasn't one of those kids who played, who found bugs, right? Because
many do.
there's Woody Allen talks about how, he loves nature. He just doesn't want to get any of it on him, you know? And I remember hearing those Woody Allen quotes and I go like, yeah. So like, oh, or he says like, I'm not one with nature. I am two with nature. It's like, he's like a city guy and he goes, he's doing nature a favor by staying out of it. That's how he protects nature. So I think that I was a bit that way when I was younger. It's like, oh yeah, well,
Mhm.
nature's an abstract thing. I didn't really get it
Ah.
because I didn't grow up camping. So I kind of backed into it. It's not like I was looking to get connected to nature, but somehow I ended up there by accident.
Yeah, so well, I'm working with a friend of mine has a large company or large like got about 100 employees, and he's doing vitality management for big corporations like banks and insurance companies, transport organization, and these people are all you know, they have like all these, of course, like many office workers, they will have like all you know the whole series of problems that many of them have. And stress is like a big thing, you
Mhm.
know, stress, the risk of burnout. And if you look at the risk, if you're doing that kind of work, you don't pay attention, and the price you might pay is very high, you know, because you might, if you get a burnout, you're basically pretty in a pretty bad shape. But also thinking on long-term health, like blood pressure, heart problems, all those things. So I will be testing in his company to just talk about stress,
Mhm.
reduce stress, and this is the method. Instead of
Yeah.
so not selling the connection with nature, but selling we got a great solution to reduce stress. I know
Mhm.
from experiments that they did with people in just 1 week, they're not in just a few minutes a day with specific behaviors. 1 week, their nature connectedness went up, and their well-being and stress, their well-being went up, and their stress went down, and that
Yeah.
just a few maybe 5 minutes a day for a week.
Mhm.
So, of course, if you have like a if your boss is the big factor that why you're completely getting burnout, connected to nature might not help, but it might help in the sense that you might feel a little bit better so you can take care of that problem.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, so in terms of, so your recommendation, so with nature connected is one is from a sustainability standpoint and for caring for this planet, it's really important for people to feel that connection with nature. How can we, uh, to me, what I realize is we can't protect something if we don't love it,
Exactly.
right? And so in order to love something, you actually have, it's sort of like you need to have some intimacy with it. You really need to see it and feel and care for it. And if nature is an abstraction, then people talking about climate change and sustainability, that's an abstraction as well. It's like talking to people about calculus. They're gonna go, "Oh, I don't understand what
That's
you're
true.
talking about." Right? Like, what does calculus have to do with my life? Which, having studied calculus in college, I've never used it since, right? But so it's hard to get that why should I care and what should I do it? But if you love something or if you love somebody, you are very vested in their well-being. So how do we become vested in the well-being of everything that's living around us? To me, that seems to be, if we can make that heart connection and that compassion and that empathy, then that will make it easier to do all these other things. Otherwise, it's just sort of like, then we have to sell things based on cost, benefit, value proposition. And as you know, so often that kind of bounces off people, right? It's sort of
Mm.
like, then you have to figure out what's in it for them. And but if it's based on, if we can open up people's hearts to nature,
Mm.
wow, that seems to be like a direct connection. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head there, Margarita, with that, with what you just said. It's actually David Attenborough said it exactly like that. He said, people only protect what they care about, and people only care about what they've experienced. Actually, you even said it better, because you say not only experience, but that you've had an experience with empathy, that with nature. So I think that's crucial. And what also shown in psychology, that if you want to get people really behind a cause, emotion is the clue.
Mhm.
Even with habits, as BJ says, emotions create habits. You could also say emotions create movements. Emotions get people. It's We're not like robots that you show the spreadsheet and they say, "Oh, I've seen the spreadsheet. Oh, whoa, yeah, yeah, great, I'll do it." And that's proven also with our own
Mhm.
behavior. You can tell people what you're doing now is unhealthy, you will die, and they'll just continue doing it. We're not ready. We're more emotional people. I used to have a psychology professor who taught me about the triune brain, as it's called. He wrote this beautiful book called Tears of the Crocodile. It's only in Dutch, unfortunately, but
Mhm.
about our different brain systems. The reptile brain, the mammal brain, and then these exploded frontal cortex that the humans have. And sometimes in my training, I ask people like, do you ever think you will do something but you don't do it? You have like
Mhm.
a plan. I should do this, I should that, and it doesn't succeed. And everybody goes, yeah, yeah, I recognize that. So, yeah, me too. It's only human. And I say, imagine that you're driving in a car, and you think, well, let's go left, and you start to go left, and the car, maybe goes right or just keeps going straight. And then you look next to you, and there's another driver and another driver. There's like three drivers, all with the wheel in the hand. And the voice that you hear in your head is the rational brain talking to you. But there's other systems that have a lot of power too. And to get people moving, we need to talk to the emotional brain. And
Mhm.
that's what nature does. If you get that engagement and get that bond, it's an emotional bond and not a rational one. And it will not be, spreadsheets won't help with this. So that's very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the, what are the three things that you want listeners to learn, change, or do? What do you want them to learn?
Well, what I would like them to learn is that nature connectedness is something that you should take care of, that doesn't come naturally, and that nature connectedness is not something that needs to take a lot of time, and that it's something that you can make a habit in your daily practice. And it shouldn't be like, oh, I need to go on a camping trip or I need to go hiking in the weekend. It can also be in the morning. I open up my window and I look at the sky and I think, wow, look at the sky, it's amazing. And just let that sink in for 30 seconds or a minute. You know, those kind
Mhm.
that's what I would like them to learn. You know, the specific behaviors that lead to nature connectedness, what we talked about. And what I would
Yeah.
like
And
them
then what would you want people to change?
well, to change is to see it like a nice to have. I think it, I think you should see it as a must have. Um, not only not only for the planet, but especially for yourself and for the people around you. It might even improve your relationships. So that's what I would like them to do, to change and
Hmm.
to do
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
um, do the behavior matching of fog, but then you need to just check out what it is. I mean, think about the behaviors that you like to do, that are connected to nature. May it be photography, sketching, walking outside, taking care of a plant, all those things. So, and then specifically try to ingrain it in your daily practice, and start small. So I would advise to use the tiny habit approach if you want to go about it. It really works well for this purpose too.
Yeah. So there's certain trends that are on your side, Peter Paul, because certainly with millennials and Gen Z, houseplants are a thing. You know, just, planting and cultivating and so on. And then the other thing that I've been seeing is this trend toward urban farming and younger people saying, okay, we want to do things with farming and agriculture. We both know someone who's doing this urban farm experiment in East Palo Alto, and she has chickens, and she's turned her yard, instead of being like a traditional American landscape yard and around her house, she has, chickens, she has bees, she's growing different small amounts of crops instead, and just being very, very connected to the land and the cycles and that the plants and the animals need, right? And just doing that, and you can do that. I've seen it in my son's school where they had them do organic gardens, and certainly at Stanford, one of the things that they've done is a number of the dormitories. They've changed some of the landscaping so that they can have organic farm, some organic, small, mini, tiny organic farming. So that way in the cafeterias, they can go and get fresh, produce and herbs and things from those plantings. And we actually have a demonstration farm now at Stanford as well. And that's
Wow.
something that did not exist when I was an undergrad there. No student was interested in farming. And now they're going out and they're growing plants and crops and experimenting because they really want to get connected and seeing that if we don't understand where our food comes from,
Mm-hmm.
then it's hard to make some of the deep changes that we need to have in
Mm.
terms of sustaining the planet, right? Because that all these things are connected, and I think for people to see how to actually experience how everything's interconnected is really profound, because you go,
True.
oh, I see. If I do, it affects all these other systems. Um, and in California, especially with the fires, we've become very aware of air quality. There's these things that happen that just all of a sudden get your attention. It's what is it? BJ Fogg talks about motivation waves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with the fires in California this fall,
Yeah.
it's been a huge motivation wave of people being very aware of how clean is our air. Well, the air quality index. So we all have air quality monitors now, and I got one for my home, and I got like, I had no idea the air quality was this way in my house because I didn't have a number, right? And I became aware, like, what's the air quality right outside of my house? It got my attention. Now I care, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's this emotion, these motivation waves that change. It kind of, it's like life isn't, it's life interrupted, right? And
Mm,
then you get this measurement that tells you how bad or good something is. And I think it's sort of like the combination of all those things
mm.
that certainly now I'm very aware and I'm monitoring, and I'm thinking, okay, so how do we make things better, right? How do we get it back to normal or to good?
Yeah. Yes.
So
No,
all
that's a
those
very good
things.
example too about how you can become conscious and it becomes like part of your system to think about it and something you care about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm super excited. Is there any place that you want listeners to go to learn more about nature connectedness, or is there resources that they should reach out to, be seeking or anything like
Well,
that?
yeah, they can if they can always email me. I have like a resource with tiny habit recipes that you can do yourself, examples. So then just please shoot me an email. Um, that's fine.
We'll include it in the show notes for this broadcast. So we'll have your email and your contact information, and if there are any
Okay.
links, we can add them there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just my name, Peter Paul at vankempenconsultancy.com. It's simple. And there's also on BJ's site, he asked the coaches to help with coronavirus challenges, as he said. And I gave a webinar about the subject, and it's the recording is on the website of BJ Fogg under the expert help sessions. So that's another place that they could go. And I'm further developing this idea. So hopefully there will be more about the specific about this nature connectedness. And
Okay, fantastic. Great, thank you. It was a pleasure having you. We'll get all those details down. And in the meantime, I think I'll go for a walk later today and maybe take some pictures.
well, thank you, Margarita. Please send them to me. And it was an honor to be here and a pleasure to talk with you. Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.